Hi, everybody, and welcome to another exciting edition of Words, Images, and Worlds. May I call this the Back to School edition? I think this could be the Back to School edition.
That works for me.
Yeah, yeah. Glad to be talking with author and educator and book advocate and podcaster and all the things, Colby Sharp. Colby, thank you for jumping in and talking with me today.
Thanks for having me. I am excited to do it.
Yeah, yeah, excited to have you. You and I started teaching at about the same time, I think. You
Okay.
started in 2006.
I had a long-term sub that entire year. I was a long-term
Oh,
sub for a teacher who actually died during the
oh,
year.
wow,
Like I thought I
wow.
was going to long-term sub for like 2 months, and then it
Yeah,
just kept getting extended and extended. And then right after that, I was hired in a different building in the district, in the same district.
gotcha, gotcha. I actually started the following year, 2007.
Yeah. Mhm.
Um, yeah, and I started on a maternity leave.
Okay.
So yeah, interesting to fill in and sort of step in and do all of those things. Which
It
is
was, yeah, it was a lot harder to find a teaching job then. It was like really like I would apply for a job and there would be maybe two jobs and like 400 applicants.
mm-hmm,
I think we
mm-hmm.
had two jobs this year and like 12 or 13 applicants. It's just a different world.
It totally is. It totally is. So I was going to start with a question of rereading, reading what's currently on your list because I know that you are a book advocate. You talked with someone that I know fairly well, Jarrett Lerner, just recently. So any titles or authors that you would currently be recommending?
Yeah, I just finished a really amazing book called The Lost Library, and it's by two amazing authors, Rebecca Stead and Wendy Mass. And it's the story of this town who 20 years before the book takes place, there was a terrible fire where the library burnt down, librarians perished in the fire, and they never rebuilt the library. And now they there, but there was like this cart in the basement that was saved,
Hmm.
and one of the librarians are still around as ghost, and one of the librarian ghost wheels that out to the street and creates like a little free library. And this boy gets one of the books from the library and notices that his dad was the last person to check out like all of the books that are in this library, and it leads to this
Wow.
big huge uncovering this mystery, and there's all these different things. What you thought was one thing ends up being another thing. So that was really fun for kids and for like grown-ups, I guess, teachers. I'm reading
Hmm.
Unreasonable Hospitality by Will Giudari, I think is how you say it. And it was the book that cousin was holding in the Forks episode of The Bear.
Ah,
And
okay.
everyone and a bunch of teachers and my principal, we love that show. And that's like the greatest episode Forks ever. So we all kind of on our own started reading that book, which is exciting to talk to them about it as we go back. Will was one of the um, people that worked at 11 Madison Park, I think is what it's the name of the restaurant, one of the most 4-star famous restaurants in New York. And it's kind of how being unreasonably kind and helpful and generous, how that can lead you to great things.
Ah, I love that. I love that. I love the turning around of kindness there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so you've also written, co-written, edited some work that I'll mention. One of those being Game Changer, all about access to books. Most recently, The Common Sense Guide to Classroom Libraries. Big classroom library fan. Checking out I think you are in a library at the moment.
Yeah. I'm in my classroom.
Oh, I love it. Nice space. Nice. I just finished setting up. Well, I don't know if I finished, but I set up my classroom yesterday. We'll still be tweaking, I'm sure. And then, of course, you also have an anthology all about
Mhm.
creativity, the Creativity Project, featuring many, many authors, wonderful people sharing prompts and example writings.
Yeah. It's been fun to work with some awesome people to make a few books.
Yeah, yeah. So with all of that expertise in mind and the experience that you have, just curious, as we're starting the school year, any particular literacy takeaway that you would want educators to know about or be thinking about as they start this new year.
Yes. If we don't get them to love reading, they're not going to keep reading. If
Yeah.
we don't, I mean, it sounds so simple, but we are in like the middle of these, I don't know how we got here, like these reading wars that are taking place,
Hmm.
where there's like these giant podcasts trashing Lucy Calkins and the units of study and all of that work, and talking about Fountas and Pinella and like the cars that they drive and how rich they are. And we have people going after each other on Twitter or X or whatever social media platform they're on at that moment. And I feel like what is being lost in all of this are the children,
Yeah.
are
Agreed.
their reading lives. I can be the greatest skilled basketball coach ever. I can teach you how to, I can't, but like you could be and teach someone how to shoot flawlessly. Like Klay Thompson, right? Like Steph Curry's like the greatest shooter ever, but Klay Thompson has the most beautiful shot in the history of basketball.
Hmm.
Someone could teach that. But if you don't pick up the ball and shoot hour after hour, day after day, put in those reps, you're never going to reach your potential, and you're never going to fall in love with it. But if we get kids to love reading and want to pick up a book and have an appreciation of story and can be in a community that talks about books and gets excited about authors, then they're going to read more. And then all of
Hmm.
those skills that are important and all of those strategies that they do need to learn and have in their toolbox, they're going to be able to become so much better at that. And then they're going to just read more. And people who read live, I believe, more fulfilled lives
Hmm.
and more have more joy in their life. So we cannot forget about the kids. We cannot forget about the magic when they are reading, because they're dying so much to know what happens that they're reading when we're teaching them about the Constitution, or they are sneaking that flashlight under their covers. Like that is my goal. Like the joy, the passion, the love for reading above everything else. Because without that, they're not going to keep going.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
know that they'll go through cycles in their life where maybe they're not reading as much, but if we can get them to fall in love with it and give them that joy associated with reading, then reading will always be there when they're ready to come back to it. And I think more than anything, we need to give kids an opportunity to develop a love of reading.
Love it. Love it. And totally agree. And it's not as though that love of reading doesn't unlock literally every other
Mm-hmm.
content area in a child's day that they experience. So,
Yeah, and we are ruining that. Like
yeah.
as a society, like we are ruining. Kids come to kindergarten, like they'll sit on the floor and they'll flip through pictures of books all day. They'll call their buddies over. They'll show them a picture of that cool spider or a snake swallowing whatever they swallow. Like they're very excited, right? They're how many times have you walked into a library and seen a group of kids they're surrounding like that Guinness Book of World Record book. Like we are
Hmm.
doing something in school because people love story, right? Like humans, so much of us is like sitting around telling stories, passing on stories from generation to generation, or using books to gain knowledge. We're just dying to learn about a topic. Like we have to figure out what it is that we are doing to drive that out of kids, because they come to us as lovers of story, as
Hmm.
people who go to books to find information. And part of it is we just gotta get out of the way and
Yeah.
let that continue to build, because all of the things that we want them that they need to be able to do as readers, they're not going to be able to do those if they don't read. But I mean, some kids are just going to be able to do it, but like many of our kids will not be able to do that if we don't help them keep that joy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, love that question. It's such an important question of where does that perish along the way and what can we do to mitigate that and to make sure that that love continues.
Yeah.
Um,
And why has reading become such a school thing? Like I feel
yeah.
like so often like we feel like we own, like schools own reading for
Hmm.
kids. And that's a
Hmm.
huge problem, because the goal of all learning is independence. And if reading becomes a school thing, then when that bell rings at 3:30, when that school year ends on June 8th, then they're not going to be reading. And I'm not
Hmm.
sure why that is the case. Why, since so often reading in school go hand in hand. And if we want them to be independent, we have to find a way for them to see the value in it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So my next question comes from a place of being, this is year 17 for me, year 18 for
Yes, let's
you.
go.
Yeah. And so I've done kind of the college education thing. I've done middle school, high school. I've had a lot of former students that go into the field of education and then they'll contact me and be like, you know what, this is just not my thing. That turnaround is real. And as you were mentioning earlier, there are jobs out there and there are not those multiple applicants. So as teachers are starting their school year, something along the lines of not survival strategies, but recommendations, things they can keep in mind to kind of help it be the best possible experience that it can be.
It's very cliche, but you have to take care of yourself first.
Hmm.
100%. You
Hmm.
have to make sure you're getting sleep. You have to make sure you're taking care of yourself. I am currently on a run streak. So I've run every day for over 4 years. So that is like the 1 hour every single day that I'm by myself. Like I have five, my wife and I have five children. So like it's very, there's a lot going on. So every
Hmm.
day, the very first thing that I do is I have a cup of coffee, I do my Wordle, and I go for an hour run. And taking care of yourself is so important. I've been calling all of my families and letting them know, like, if you need me, here's how you get a hold of me. If you have any questions, please know that I'm not one that is checking school email at night. Like, I
Hmm.
just don't do that.
Same.
If you really need something, you can use the Remind app, the app that we use to communicate. But please know, like, when I'm home, when I leave school, I leave school. And that is something I've gotten so much better at. I used to do so much work at home.
Hmm.
Because it's like you were saying, like, you're setting your classroom up, it's done, but you might go in and tweak. Like, there's always more work to do in
Totally.
teaching. And I don't feel like it's that extra work that makes me the teacher that I am. So I try not to do all of that. And don't sign up for everything, teachers. All y'all are signing up for every committee. You're signing, like, it's like the same 30% of the teachers are signing up for everything. So I
Hmm.
don't sign up for anything that involves lots of meetings, like nothing, because I just don't like meetings. And I want to go home and hang out with my five kids. I want to go to their practices. I'm coaching a kindergarten through second grade flag football team and a third and fourth grade flag football team, so I can hang out with my boys. So yeah, take care of yourself. Do things that are fun. Read books. Watch terrible Netflix. All that stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. I used to be one for checking my email all the time. It was the first
Yeah.
thing I did in the morning. I would be checking emails 9 and 10 o'clock at night, and there's just got to be that cutoff line. And as you mentioned, there's Remind Now, which it's
Yeah.
kind of a sweet thing. Like I missed a day last year to take care of something, and my students checked out or checked in with me by Remind. They were like, Dr. D, where are you? What's going on? Are you okay? I'm like, oh, you sweet people.
Yeah.
I'm fine. I'm
Yeah.
okay. I'll be back tomorrow. So yeah, absolutely. And hashtag heck yes to not signing up for everything. There's enough
Everything.
leadership to go around.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I think my last question, and then we can hit anything that we've missed, I always like to provide the resources, the spaces people can go to check out your work, to read more, because I know in a 20-minute podcast we can't hit it all, as well as just anything that I missed that you want to make sure to mention.
If people are looking for something to read, it's just really short. It's like a one pager, and I can send you the link and you can share it in the description and things. It's the
Hmm.
National Council for Teachers of English, NCTE. It's their position statement on independent reading,
Hmm.
because I think that that is one of the biggest misconceptions that we have right now in education. The way that we are trying to control independent reading, which, like, are you missing, like, the first word is independent, right?
Hmm.
It's not rocket science, but, and I'm not blaming teachers, I'm not blaming administrators. I know we are trying so hard to do so much for kids, but if we can figure out that piece and getting kids to independence, I think everything else will be okay. So I highly recommend that. And I'll just share one line from it really quick. The goal of independent reading as an instructional practice is to build habitual readers with conscious reading identities. That is the goal of independent reading.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that's it. And you don't, yeah. So that if anything I can give, anything that you can take from me in terms of like after this episode, I would highly recommend reading that position statement.
Fantastic. Yeah. And I'm a big fan of NCTE, both that organization and AMLE because they're affordable. You can get things for free if you don't want to pay for a
Mhm.
membership. And there are professional organizations out there that are $100, $200, $300 to be part of. And both of those organizations, if people do want like the digital copies of things, I think they're much less expensive than that. I
Mhm.
don't want to put a dollar amount on that, but I know I'm cheap when it comes to professional organizations,
Yeah.
and so both of those are great ones.
Yeah. I do think that's a important thing. I feel like so much of the teacher I am today happen is because I joined the Michigan Reading Association early in my career,
Hmm.
um, connecting with other educators through that, and then eventually the NCTE and being able to go to the national conference here and there over the years. Just being around people that are excited about this, I think makes you just feel so refreshed and refueled, and to talk to people outside of your building. I think so often, at least when I get in my building, I'm like head down. I'm going to work through my lunch. I'm going
Hmm.
to, try to do all of these things. But getting involved with people and finding those positive people around, I think is really vital.
Yeah, and staying connected to research. They have posts, they have articles.
Yeah.
They're not paying me to say this, by the way, or anything like that. But I've looked at some articles where it's like, if you like histograms, this is your thing. So it's nice to read accessible research and classroom ideas.
What are you most excited about for the upcoming school year?
Well, last year was my first year teaching high school in quite some time.
Okay.
And so I kind of stepped in for a teacher, kind of like the situation that you were explaining, except it was a retirement, not an illness. And so I'm I'm really excited to kind of ease in. Last year I hit the ground running, which was fine. It was okay, but excited to connect with the students again and just I always love looking back through the way that I do things. I've been doing this 17 years, as I said, and there's always something to tweak. There's always something
Hmm.
to do. So I'm always excited to kind of figure out the best ways to do things and make it meaningful for kids.
So what classes are you teaching?
I have English 2 and English 3, so mostly 10th and 11th
Okay.
graders. And in the spring, I'll do an AP composition.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, yeah. It is fun. It is fun. I've
Yeah.
mentioned writing and composition, and I try to communicate the idea that these are things that I do for fun. Similar to
Yeah.
the reading question, writing is something that gives us the chance to share our stories. So it doesn't have to be, crawling on thumbtacks. It can be really interesting and enlivening stuff to do.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, thanks for going back to the high schoolers. I know that at times they get a bit of a bad rap these days. And wow, what a hard time to grow up. Like, what a hard time to be
Right?
a high schooler with social media and phones and all that connectiveness. I can't imagine how hard it is. And yet they're still out there doing awesome things.
They are that I told them one day last year, at least one day, that they're just warriors because I mean they've been through a pandemic, they've been through all this unrest, and they continue going. So it's an amazing thing to do, and they truly are warriors.
Have you seen that book? It's about to come out. It's called Accountable by Dashka Slater. Have you heard of that?
I have not.
So it's Dashka wrote the 57 bus,
Hmm.
which was a very won a lot of awards nonfiction. And this book is about a racist social media true story, a racist social media account and how it destroyed a community. And I'm just really fascinated to see what high schoolers think of it, like because they
Hmm.
interview like everyone that would interview, like teachers, a bunch of different children that were involved, administrators, community members. I don't know how she put the book. I can't even imagine how she made it, but um, yeah, I think that it should be provided. Like every high school educator, middle school educator, and administrator should have access to that book because it was really eye opening to what it's like to be a kid today and how quickly things can kind of get out of control.
Yeah, yeah. And you said it's called Accountable.
They're called Accountable, and the subtitle is the true story of a racist social media account.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. I just wrote that down and I will be getting a copy to check out.
Yeah, it's really, I read it on vacation. It's like the worst vacation read ever, but I just was really excited to read it, having no idea what I was getting myself into. But my wife is a high school teacher, so it's like, Elena,
Oh, nice. Nice.
read
Yeah.
this. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned high school getting a bad rap. At their core, they are lovely, lovely people.
Oh,
I mean, really.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that they give me so much hope. They give me
Yeah.
so much hope.
Same here. Same here. Well, you probably have meetings to get to today and things to set up. And
I'm
yeah,
crossing off podcast on my list.
I officially made it. I'm on the path. Thank you so much for adding me to the list and
Thanks for having me. This was fun.
talking with me. Yeah, yeah. Glad to
Have a
talk with
great
you.
year.
You
Have
do
a
the same.
great year. What a gift it is that we get to do this work. I love this job. And so often,
Hmm.
like people are like, I want to be a teacher. And I hear other teachers saying, don't do it, don't do it. And that breaks my heart. I don't blame them.
Yep.
That breaks my heart that they feel that way. And I feel like a big reason that I don't feel that way is because I have amazing leadership in the buildings that I have taught in that
Hmm.
give me an opportunity to follow my passions and always say yes to my wild ideas. So if there's anyone listening that is thinking about being a teacher or you're in the middle of it and you don't know, it can be an amazing profession. And I feel blessed to be able to do it. And I hope that you can feel the same way when you walk into your building every day.
Likewise, likewise. It's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity, and there's nothing else that I've ever done that's like teaching. And to echo what you said, and my administrator says this all the time as well, we get to do this. We get
Mm-hmm.
to go and have these conversations with young people and have the chance to have this input on the world and to potentially
Absolutely.
make change. So, yep,
Thanks, Jason.
yep. Thank you.